Ever feel like your solos are just a bunch of notes? Now I'll show you why some solos are not musical at all and how to fix it using three powerful concepts and of course showing you how to practice them. So the first concept, and probably you already know about this if you are following my channel already. If you don't, then please subscribe and click the like button. And this concept is motivic development. Now, let me give you an example of a solo that I improvised a couple of months ago over a tune of mine called Flowers for Algernon. Stick with me and then I'll explain to you how you can practice this. So you could definitely hear the motivic development in the solo, right? And I'd like to show you how to practice playing like that at the end of the video. And before we move to that section, I want to show you the two other very important and powerful concepts I was talking about. The second one is space, meaning don't play all the time. That's very simple, but it's actually really difficult to do, especially live, because on stage you always have the feeling that you need to play a lot, or you need to play more, or you need to fill every gap. This is also one of my, or at least I think it was one of my biggest problems, meaning no breaks at all. So start thinking like a saxophone player, for example. So like you would have to breathe between the phrases. And let me give you a great example from one of my favorite guitar players, John Scofield. He's a master in leaving space and breathing and playing melodies that have a beginning and an end, and then a break, and then something else. So check this out. Great, right? He's one of the best. And now let's move to the third powerful concept, which is maybe the most difficult to kind of explain, but is maybe also the most important one because it regards the whole solo as a whole story. So that's what I'm talking about. Storytelling is the third concept. And one example of storytelling could be to start simple, to develop your first ideas, and to get to a conclusion. So bring the listeners to different places and then bring him back home. That's the idea of this concept. And this is also something that is kind of abstract and it's not so easy to practice, but stick until the end and I'll show you that if you work on your melodic development and on leaving out space, you automatically create a story. But before we move to the practical section, let me show you one great example. This is a very good example of storytelling. You could see he started simple, a couple of ideas, he developed them, and then he brought us back home. And now let's finally move to the exercises that you can do to work on your motivic development, on creating space, and on your storytelling. So the first step would be to take a simple idea whatever you want, but let me give you a very simple example. So for example, something like this. This is our motive. We start like that, our solo. And something that you can do at the beginning is repeat this motive. Then you can move it around. The rhythm stays the same, but the notes are different. But move it around on the scale, so in the same key to start. So for example, right? You can move it around as much as you want. And now the second step would be to keep the same notes, but change the rhythm. So if the notes are, then now the rhythm could be whatever you want. You see, there are endless possibilities. Now imagine for the next step to do both at the same time, to move the motive around and also change a little bit the rhythm, and then you already have a melody. So and now you can add one more element, which is move it around not just diatonically, so in the same key or the same scale, but also adding some chromatic notes or sticking to the real motive, which was. So if we move it around, actually we should do always have this half step below. But now we are introducing some new notes that are not really in C major, right? So all these approaches are not in the key. But in general, we are still playing in C major, actually. So the next step would be now, if you have a tune with more than one key, then you need to be able to move your motive through different keys, right? And then we can put it all together and try to play an actual solo over a piece or over a chord and see if we can work with more than one motive. So for example, we can stick to one idea, move to another idea, and see if we can recall then the first idea that we had. So doing something like A, B, A, B. Something like this, like you would compose a tune with two different parts. So try to do this and see what happens with your playing, and take that as a mindset, because many of these concepts are actually really, as soon as you can really get this idea and really start to improvise with this mindset, you almost don't have to practice many of these concepts, because leaving space between the phrases, what you want to practice? I mean, basically you just have to do it. So you practice the fact that you get used to having space in your phrases, right? But there is nothing to practice. You're not playing. Of course, motivic development, you have to practice that. But the rest sometimes is just a mindset, or also a story, right? You can give yourself a couple of guidelines before you start improvising. For example, okay, I want to use 3 motives and that's it. I'm gonna develop them. At the beginning I leave more space, in the middle I leave less space, and then I bring it back to the very first motive. Let's see if I can do it. So this basically is a very good concept to play a solo. Do it and see what happens, and let me know in the comments. And if you have questions, of course, don't hesitate to ask. And if you want to take your improvising to the next level, then check out my all-in-one improvisation academy. You will find the link in the description. And if you want an overview of this lesson, you can download the free PDF with the link in the description as well. Thank you very much for watching and see you for the next one.